You are the arbiter of how much time you put into it. You decide when you put your attention towards it. But but it doesn't require a massive gaming PC setup where you sit there with your mouse and keyboard and is fully involved, right? You can jump in and out of it at an entirely different way. And that is just much more powerful than what people really realize, I think. Um, and that's was also initially what really turned me on with this game, was how, even though how simple it is, you will get sucked into it at a very deep level, basically because the way that we are going to design all of the time delays, you will end up, and this is my personal speculation, but significant players, and I'm not kidding you, significant players will end up constructing their real life based on the timing delays in my contracts for this game. So imagine you had an extremely important action you could only perform once an hour, right? And you need to perform that action on the time slot, because if you don't, you're falling behind to someone who is doing that. Well, I'm gonna promise you right now that people are going to construct their daily routines around those time slots, simply because the money will be so significant here that it wouldn't make any sense for you not to do it like that. I myself did that when I was playing this game 15 years ago. I did these actions before I left to go to school, right? And when I arrived at school, the first thing I did was do the action again, because otherwise I was falling behind. So I was already constructing my daily life around these time delays. That is how powerful and immersive the game will eventually become. And that was even without having a financial incentive. Imagine when you're having a $20,000 payout weekly, maybe. Well, then you're surely gonna construct your everyday life around these time delays. And that's going to be extremely interesting to see how it works out.
Well, speaking, you mentioned too about the we got a few questions, and we'll get to them in just a minute in chat. Appreciate you, chat. About the, it's a Colt knows 50 ways to make money in the game, something around that nature. You want to go over just a few of those? I think that'll give people kind of a
Yes,
tangible idea around that.
absolutely. And I can give you a factual overview on how it will work. So there are different ways of earning in-game cash in the system. You can either attempt to rob the protocol, which is basically just core level inflation, or you can attempt to rob someone else's assets. They're maybe from their business items, or something that is user owned. But if we start with the protocol part, we will have at least 10 raid spots, meaning that they will have different difficulty levels, and they will have different possible outcomes. And basically, the better a character you have, a higher rank character plus some RNG and some other stuff, will determine your success rate on these protocol raids, which also have a time delay, obviously, so that the inflation doesn't run rampant. Um, so imagine that we have let's say we have a strip club, for instance, right? And you as a user can rob it every 24 hours. But it requires item A, it requires you to work together in a lobby with another user, and it has an RNG where if you fail, you basically lose the items you put forward in an attempt to rob it. Maybe that's a gun or a car or whatever. But if you succeed, you'll get paid in-game inflation because, well, you robbed the strippers for their cash, right? So imagine that, but just with 20 different themes that runs on separate time delay schedules. So the more active you are, the more often you can rob the protocol. And I always like to think it as if everyone was friends in this game, which they will never be. Everyone would literally just be on their own path, just exploiting the protocol inflation, just robbing it, robbing it, robbing it. But the thing is, people will always be people. They are human, they have greed, they have all sorts of things. And they will eventually try to steal that capital from each other instead of being good friends and just steal from the protocol. And that is truly when the magic happens. When users start trying to obstruct each other, kill each other, steal their money, which is the absolute most risky, but also the most rewarding feature in the entire game. Is that, you know, GIF could decide to, he has a maybe some sort of debate with someone on Telegram, and he is in an emotional state, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to kill you, right? And he goes on and he fires some bullets, and everything goes well for him. And now that wallet is blacklisted from the game forever because the wallet died, and GIF resumed or took over all of that player's assets. So it is, in some way, would call it like legal stealing almost, because you're taking another man's assets, but you're doing within the realm of the game, part of the rules, part of the DeFi, right? And that is such a profound innovation, implementing that into a game where you can literally steal someone else's money, perfectly legal, and nobody can do anything about it. I think that is so beautiful, and it's so appealing to so many people, that we truly haven't really understood yet how powerful that metric is going to be.
I think, let me just take it to another level too. It's way more honest, believe it or not. Like, that's a more honest way to approach, earning a living in crypto. Like, I mentioned this in a previous stream, but let's not get it mistaken. Like, you could get into a project that you think is going to be great, right? And then it gets rugged, or there's some sort of flaw in the code or whatnot. And every dollar that you put in invested, or every crypto you put in invested, goes to zero. It's essentially the same thing, except for we're all going to be abiding by the rules of the game. And it's all going to be on a level playing field. And it's going to be up to you and your family, or if you want to, work this by yourself, how you're going to exactly play this game. But, I think one of the things that scares a lot of people is when they hear, oh, I could be, my character can be killed in this game. And I like to say, don't get it twisted. You can get killed in crypto too. It just looks differently, and it's probably a lot less honest.
Yeah, I love that analogy, honestly, because it's so true. Buying any meme coin or whatever it is essentially probably a bigger risk than running around with no protection and your bank account full of cash and mafia, right? And